Like I remember in fifth grade, we did this experiment where they would have two mice, right? And one mouse they would feed like super nutritious food, and then the other one it was all fat, and other candy and shit like that. And then
Yeah.
like to show the difference between them over the. Maybe we could do that on this podcast.
That's a great idea.
It'd be like the yin yang,
Yeah. Am I the one eating all the pizza?
No, I mean we
'Cause
could
I really like
switch
pizza.
roles. But
Yeah. See the effects. Yeah. What do you think? Let us know. Let us know if you think that'd be a great idea.
Yeah, let us know in the comments. Should we have like a disclaimer just to let everybody know? I don't know shit about fitness or anything. Let's just put that out there.
Hello and welcome to Healthiest. I'm Tony Bevilacqua, your healthiest host, and I'm here with my good friend Wes. And Wes is going to be joining me on this podcast to ask some questions because you are not a complete health nerd like I am.
Pretty much a fat ass currently. But no, just kidding. No, I was in good shape a few years ago, but I've started losing it, and I find it harder in my 40s for sure. So,
Yeah. And how old are you now?
43.
43. Nice. Yeah. So we're going to cover some topics. He's going to ask me some questions, and hopefully we're going to give you some value and some direction because there's so much information out there around health and fitness, like it's bananas. You can go down all kinds of different roads. And what I've been doing over the last 25 years is helping people to find some clarity on what the actionable strategies need to be to actually find some success in this thing. So without further ado, let's dig into this thing. And let me know, like, what kind of things do you think people are wondering out there right now? And we won't put you in a box. It could be fitness, nutrition, anything health related.
I want to know my biggest thing. How do I stay motivated to keep going? Because I was highly motivated when I was 40. I think that was the last time I was in really good shape, like right when I turned 40. And then something switched, and now I am finding it almost impossible to get motivated to do that first day of, all right, let's get back into it,
Yeah. And sometimes it is just that first day, right? Like just showing up the first day to get some momentum. But let's give these people some history. So when I first met you, I think that was when you were kind of in your zone,
I was in
right?
really good shape.
Yeah, like you were working out. And Yeah, you look great.
I was in it.
And then what happened?
I don't know. I got injured. That was part of it.
That's right. Yeah.
So I hurt my arm right here, and it was painful to do about anything. And then I kind of used that as an excuse to stop going. And then I just lost. Once I started going down, I ended up working. I went out of town and worked for like a month, living out of a hotel, and that killed my diet because I was doing a macro diet at that point.
Oh yeah.
And so I was keeping track of all my macros. And then when that happened, and then coming back, it was like I just started quit caring about what I eat and stuff like that. Started eating pizza and things I would never have eaten back then. And it's just been kind of a...
It's funny how like just an injury, and it's like an injury to your arm will completely derail someone, and you're not alone because I hear that from so many people. Like that's a common thing is like people get hurt or maybe they go on a vacation, whatever it might be. And next thing you know, the motivation just completely tanks. But I'd like to share a story, and you shared this story with me, so I'm going to share your story.
Oh, okay.
And so you may have to correct this a little bit, but I thought this was really interesting. And you had mentioned to me that you were in the best shape of your life. I think that's what you said. When you were in a movie, weren't you? You were in a movie as a cop.
I was writing a story where I was going to try to play a cop.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, I'll get in shape like a police officer, And so that kind of, even though I knew it was like a really slim chance of it ever happening, it was enough to keep me, it got me started on it and then kept me motivated. And then I removed it from the storyline, and that was also a big part of I didn't have anything to grab onto to say, okay, this is my goal.
Yeah.
And now it's like, what's the goal? To try to be in better shape. It's not, I don't know, it's not enough motivation for me to do it.
Yeah.
Still.
But I think, what was interesting about that is like when I meet other really healthy people or people that are in the gym all the time or people that eat really good, they carry with them like an identity, right? Like we all have these various identities in our life, right? Like you're a dad or you're a husband or you're something at work, right? We have all these different things. And the people that I meet in these gyms who are in great shape, well, unshockingly, they identify themselves as like being healthy, right? Like I am a healthy person. And if you can convince yourself of that, you tend to kind of lean into that a little bit more and you start to do the things that a healthy person would do. And relating back to that story that you mentioned to me, it's like I remember asking you, I'm like, well, was that like the perception that you have of police officers? Because if it is, that's good, right? Like you believe that the identity of a police officer should be someone who's in pretty good shape.
I mean, the way I was kind of looking at it, and this might sound silly, but for me, like if I was a police officer, I was thinking what I'll do is get in good shape, and then like the morning of the shoot, I'll eat a bunch of donuts, you know?
Yeah, there you go.
No,
that's one way to do it.
No, I've seen cops that are super ripped and totally into it. Then I've seen the other ones that are, you know, if they had a foot chase, they'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But that was, to me, it was enough to say, okay, you know, but I do know that they do go through physical training when they become a police officer. So I thought that's where I would, you know, use as my motivation for that character.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was thinking. So if I was a cop, I would think that I would like to think that I would be in shape.
Yeah,
you know?
I think that's exactly right. You know, so and you know, I have kind of a similar story when I was when I was going through cancer. When I was diagnosed twice, and this was kind of an interesting time in my life, obviously. But the first time I became like this victim. I was like, I'm just, you know, why me? Poor me. This is terrible. And like I drank a bunch of alcohol, and I just fell into this like really crazy kind of weird place. Yeah. And then I actually got the all clear, but then it came back. So after like 9 months of being all clear and me treating my body like complete shit for a bunch of time, unsurprisingly, it came back. And that's when like I had this weird shift where I latched myself onto this identity of being the healthiest motherfucker on the planet, to be quite honest. Like that's what I wanted. And I started living my life from that moment to being the healthiest person that I could possibly be. So I like latched onto this new identity instead of being this, you know, this kind of victim person that I kind of built this whole frame around. I decided to build a completely new frame and sort of reinvent my life. And that's when everything kind of changed for me. So I think like this identity thing, and I think even be able to kind of fake it until you make it, because I wasn't healthy when I started. But I had just like internally convinced myself.
Yeah.
Because every single day I would like, and this is like true, like I would look in the mirror and I would be like, I am healthy. Like I am cancer free. Like I'm the healthiest motherfucker on this planet. And then I would live my days as such. And it was a bit over the top. You know, I had incorporated all these really crazy healthy habits in my life. Someday we can get into some of that stuff. It was pretty bananas, but it worked. And I continue to kind of tell myself that to this day. And just convincing myself of being this healthy person. If it's something that's really, really important to you, right? Like being a great dad, is that important to you?
Yeah.
Being an honest person, like, is that important to you?
Yeah.
No?
Yes, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but if you have these values, right? And even if you know a value is going to be good for you, but you're not quite there yet, again, it's kind of faking it until you make it.
Yeah.
You have to.
Speaking it into truth.
Yes, right.
I like that.
I think there's something to that. Like, have you had experiences like that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's interesting. That's really cool. I should try that. Like, you know, be the healthiest adjuster in the world or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, it's got to be important, right?
Yeah. But it's good because like now I'm like it's weird this year, like my vision's starting to fade.
Oh yeah.
But like every night I have hip pain. Like what is that? Like what happened there? And it's like, you know,
just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It just shows up.
Every morning it wakes me up some nights and I'm like, my hips hurt. What? You know?
Yeah.
And I don't know. So,
yeah, I mean, like those are common things, right? Like if you're over 40, you probably have something that's showing up. And sometimes it's even more annoying when you wake up in the morning and you're like, you take that first step and you go, what is that? Why does my knee hurt? Why does my hip hurt? And to be honest, like that even happens to me once in a while. And I'm stay very, very active, very fit. But what I have found is that if you are more consistent with an exercise program, particularly strength training, because a lot of guys are doing cardiovascular stuff, meaning like they're going to the gym and getting on an elliptical machine or a treadmill, or they're running out in the neighborhood, like stuff like that. There's some value there. But I think if you really want to get rid of some of those strange orthopedic pains, you got to get strong.
Yeah.
Like you have to get strong.
That's the biggest thing I noticed from when I got out of shape. It's how I felt so strong back then, and now I feel very weak.
Yeah.
You know, like when if I have to exert any energy, I'm just like, this is ridiculous, but I'm still trying to find that motivation. This is helping already. Just talking about it. It is.
Perfect. But give me some examples. Like you said that you were super strong, you felt super strong, and then
like I would do a HIIT workout every other day. It was 12 minutes. It wasn't that much. And when I first started it was hard. Like now it would be hard if I did it. Yeah. But when I was in my peak, I could do it faster than the guy on the video, full perfect form, all that stuff, and it was fun and I could kill it. But now it's like, all right, even I would know like I think that's the hardest part for me to get back into it is I know how slow I'm going to have to take it because of how sore I'm going to be on day 2.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, that's a real thing too. Like being super sore, right? Like the people who are on these roller coasters, which are so many guys, right? They're on this roller coaster of like getting really fit and then you drop off.
Yeah.
And you get really fit. And then every time you go through that cycle, there could be all kinds of different metabolic damage and things that we're not going to get into here. But just that feeling of like, if I start again, I'm going to feel like a piece of shit and I'm going to be super sore for like 3 days or like the first couple of weeks.
I might be able to go to work, and climb a roof. I remember when I started working out last time. I did a really big leg workout, right? And then I'd go on a roof the next day. Oh my gosh, I felt like I was so embarrassed because there was a contractor with me and I was like just groaning. And I was like, oh, and he's like, what is wrong with this guy? I was like, sorry. It's like, but it was bad. But so that's why I've like another reason why I've been having a hard time. Or like I'll do it. I'll feel motivated to do it one day, and then the next day I'm like, fuck it.
Yeah. So. It is funny how like day by day, like motivation just changes, right? Some days you're super motivated, some days you're not. But for me, that's never changed. I still struggle with that. I've been doing this for like 20 years.
Wow.
And like there are days where I'm like, I don't want to go in the gym.
Yeah.
Like I just don't want to do it. But for some reason, I can get myself to go there because it's just been part of my life.
Yeah.
And usually if you just show up, you just get in the gym and you do that first stretch or movement or whatever it is, you just keep going. Like the ball just keeps rolling, And I think the other thing is, if you are starting back up, is to not overdo it, but easier said than done, especially if you're a guy, at least in my experience, because I know so many guys that are like, yep, I'm gonna get back in shape. And then they go in the gym and they kill it on the first day.
They get injured.
Well, that sometimes, but then they're just super sore.
Yeah.
Right. And then that derails them because then they take the next 3 days off and then they have to get a tremendous amount of motivation again. But in the back of their mind, they know that if they start up again, even though it's been only 3 days, that they're probably going to be super sore again, which is true. So it's like moderating. Whenever I work with somebody who's brand new, and I've been doing this for a very long time, I can program accordingly. So if we do things the right way, the goal is for you to never to be super sore.
How do you do, like, I've noticed that sometimes if I'll do like weight training or something like that and I get back into it, I get like my shoulder has trouble. How do you, what are good ways to like avoid getting injured when you're working out and things like that? But also two, what are ways to work around it? Like when my arm hurt for like a year.
Wow.
And so, what would you do in a situation like that to keep going without causing further damage?
Yeah, so kind of two questions. Number one is like, how do you prevent injury, right? So I think if you're gonna start doing some formal exercise, if you're gonna start getting into the gym, and I call the gym the lab. Like if you think of it like a laboratory, you take your body, you put it in the laboratory, and you do work on it, right?
Nice.
Like you're tweaking things and testing things and trying things and doing stuff, and you're in a nice controlled environment. But you want to challenge yourself in this nice controlled environment so that when you get out into the real world, you're pretty resilient, right? Mm-hmm. And hopefully bulletproof. So when you're in the lab, it's really important to understand biomechanics and know how to move correctly. So, that's one of the biggest mistakes I think I see a lot of guys do is they've never been taught how to do some of these, we'll just call them more complex functional movement patterns, like to be able to perform a good squat or to be able to do a deadlift or even a pull-up for that matter, even a push-up. Most guys don't know how to biomechanically do a push-up.
Huh.
Yeah, I mean, we can all kind of get on the floor, like we understand, we can kind of visualize it, but believe it or not, there's great positions for you to get into that will put your risk of injury literally at almost zero.
Wow. Okay.
Almost zero, right? Nothing's 100%, but for the most part, that's how we get, I've got some history working with some elite level athletes. The only way that these elite level athletes can train day in and day out without injury at really high intensities is because they know what they're doing. So you have to like learn those skills. Right. So that's the first thing. It's like learn the skills. Like the skills are the most important part, and it's worth finding someone who can teach those to you in a really efficient way. The second thing, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So form, just use proper form.
Yeah.
And then
understand what that looks like.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the key, and it's practice. You want to keep practicing that. And even like the elite level athletes, sometimes they would pick up bad habits. They could be 4 years into their career and something would start to show up. So it's kind of this constant, we're constantly kind of working on that. You never achieve perfect, the perfect movements. We're always kind of working on that. But anyways, the second thing that you mentioned was if you do have an injury, what do you do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you want to keep working out.
Right.
Yeah, well, maybe you don't. But if you want to keep working out, we got to figure out a way to work around it. And I think that number one is like figuring out what is this injury. Depending on what's going on there, a lot of injuries are soft tissue. And if it's a soft tissue injury, meaning like you've got some tendonitis or maybe you've got, I don't know, it could be some bruising, whatever. But most of the time, and I'm going to say like 75% of the time, still using that joint and those muscles, but just at a very low level. You want to keep moving.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you keep moving and it's just a soft tissue injury, you can actually accelerate the healing process by pushing more blood through that injury. Right? It kind of when your heart rate accelerates, it pushes blood through the system a little bit more. And if you think of blood like that's what's bringing the groceries in and the garbage out, you want to keep that thing moving.
Okay.
Right? So get that moving. And then the other thing is when you have an injury, the nervous system sort of changes. So the way that your muscles fire around that joint can get really goofed up. You probably heard of like compensations and stuff. If you've got a bad knee, you start limping in a weird kind of way, right? So you want to try to move those joints and keep the nervous system efficient in a way that it keeps driving that joint through perfect movement patterns.
Okay.
So trying to avoid some of those compensations that come up. You want to keep it's nervous system stuff. You want to keep that patterning available to you. Huh. Otherwise you can build some bad habits and then that's when those injuries become chronic. Like you keep having it over and over and over again. A lot of that stuff is just nervous system stuff.
Okay.
You've lost some of your skill.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's other things too. Like if you've got that soft tissue stuff, if it's something mechanical, like I've got a good friend who tore his meniscus in his knee, and a meniscus is that's like a mechanical thing. If that thing tears, you probably don't want to move it, depending on the severity of the tear.
Okay.
So there are certain things where you have to analyze and figure out, that's maybe not something we want to really move. But then the other thing is still finding things that you can do, because if you've got a bad arm, what are some other things you could do?
Like work your legs out, just not use it.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
I remember being at the gym, and there are some people who can't turn off working out.
Yeah.
So like they'll break their arm, they'll come in a cast, or they'll break their leg. Let me just give you an example. They'll break their leg, they'll come into the gym, and we've got some rowing machines over here. We had a skateboard that we put on the floor next to the rowing machine. So they'd put their bad leg on the skateboard. Wow. And then they could still do the whole pattern with that leg straight as the skateboard just went back and forth. Like there's a way, right? Like if you want it bad enough, you can find a way.
What about guys like me who use it as an excuse to be like, well, I probably shouldn't go?
Yeah. I would want to, I would definitely want to know the psychology of that just a little bit more.
Yeah.
I'm super interested in psychology because that's what kind of drives us all to do the things that we do, right? Like, what is, I understand that that's on the surface, what's kind of holding you back. But if you were to keep going.
There's a lot. I saw this guy the other day. I forget who, he's a famous NFL broadcaster, but he was a player, and he said he got his master's degree in sports psychology after the fact, right?
Yeah.
And he said he wished he would have known, because he was like, if the coach told him, hey, don't go out there and throw an interception, he'd be like, now I'm thinking interception. Instead, he's like, go out there and throw a fucking touchdown, and then he's like, it's a totally different mindset going out, and he said he wished he would have known those things when he was playing. So I've been thinking about that a lot lately. So maybe that's the...
Yeah. Like, what are the benefits, right?
Yeah.
There's a saying that I learned, this guy that always stuck in my head. He was a mentor of mine. He said, where your attention goes, energy flows.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah. So if you can direct in coaching, if you can direct someone's attention to some positive thing, that gets them, just to your point, right? Like gets them to focus on exactly what you want.
Because like I guess I should learn how not to sabotage myself. I'd be like, okay, well, when I lift this barbell, it hurts, but this pizza doesn't hurt so bad. you know. So
It tastes so good.
yeah,
God.
that's the other thing too. Like intermittent fasting, that it was like my life. Like I would eat once a day.
Yeah.
And then now I've noticed this year and like the last year or so, I can't go till 2 o'clock. And then I have a hard time after, like, I remember when I was in really good shape when we lived in California, and it was like, I had a really strict rule not to eat after 7:30. And now it's like, that's usually the end of my night is snacking.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what do you do to control that kind of stuff? And is intermittent fasting even
Yeah. Great
good?
question. Yeah. I think there's some value to intermittent fasting. I do it myself. I don't eat breakfast in the morning most of the time. I'm not super diligent with it, but I don't generally. But I think people view intermittent fasting as a way to lose weight, right? Is that sort of where you're coming from?
Yeah, or to keep it off, I guess. That's where I was like, I always felt, because I've always been kind of skinny, but like I can gain weight pretty easily, but I can also, if I work hard, I can drop it. But I was never like struggled with being obese, and I always wondered if it was because I was skipping breakfast and a lot of times lunch, especially when I was working a lot, I'd be like, I'll just eat when I get home, And so, but yeah, I was just keeping it off. I mean, I wouldn't say I'd use it to lose weight, but just to kind of not to control like how much I was intaking.
Yeah. Because you can gain weight using intermittent fasting. So I think what a lot of people do, at least people that I've run into in my experience, is they tend to use it as like a weight loss strategy, but it might work, but for a lot of people, it's not necessarily sustainable, especially if you're someone who's really active. Mm-hmm. Right? Now, there's different ways that you can approach it. So that's a conversation I think you would have to have with someone who knows what the heck they're doing. But I don't think there might be, I like intermittent fasting more because there's some health benefits to it when we look at the cellular level, which we won't get into, but there's some really interesting things on the health side of it, more so than the weight loss side of it. And again, like from a weight loss standpoint, you can absolutely gain weight if you're intermittent fasting, if you eat like shit during your window, which is what some people do. Yeah. Well, but you lost weight though, right?
Oh yeah, but even now, if I intermittent fast, I'll gain it.
Yeah, I mean it's totally possible.
The only thing I had yesterday was pizza, and I feel it today.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
It was just dinner, but it was like enough for all three, really.
Nice. Dude, pizza's so good.
You know what we could do?
I keep that for after the quality is fixed. Fix the quality first because that's going to give the best bang for the buck.
Yeah.
Just eat good food, and if you can do that and build that as your foundation, we probably don't even have to have the conversation about intermittent fasting.
Okay.
If you want to be really nerdy and healthy, that's kind of like the next level.
Yeah.
Level 1, build your foundation first, quality food.
I heard this thing, somebody said, if you eat right after you work out, it tells your mind, it puts your mind in like that survival mode where it's like, if I work hard, it brings me food, like kind of like the hunter-gatherer type mindset, like down to like that, like, I don't know the best way to put it, but basically saying that it'll teach your body that if you are building or making it stronger or whatever, then you get to eat. Is that like a wives' tale or something? Have you ever heard that?
Yeah. So just so I'm clear, like it's
like training your body to think that you have to work to get food. And so if the stronger you are, like when you go work out and then you eat right after, it's like telling your body, oh, if I get in good shape, I get to eat now.
I don't know.
Never heard that?
Yeah, I've heard it. Well, there's research, there's science out there that says that you have a window of time after your workout where you should consume some protein and some carbohydrates. So it's like an hour or 2 hours, I don't remember exactly, and there's been various studies done on it. So everybody was like mixing up protein shakes and everything like right after their workout, and to kind of fit into that window. But recently there's been research that shows that that's not the case, that it doesn't matter when you eat.
Should we have like a disclaimer just to let everybody know? I don't know shit about fitness or anything. Let's just put that out there. So,
yeah, well, I think that's what makes this work.
Don't take any of my advice. Listen to this guy.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I think we've been a little overzealous with it. More in the gym community.
Yeah,
like you see in gyms all the time. People sitting on the bench, mixing up their shakers. Yeah.
That's why
I've never really done it, to be honest.
That's what I do with the macro diet. It was like a 40% protein and then, or 60% protein, 20 carbs, and then 20 fats, I think is the ratios that I was using. And I mean, I dropped weight like crazy, but it was, it was kind of a task to make sure I got all those levels right. And it took a ton of energy.
Yeah. A lot of the diets are that, the old school diets are so complicated because you have to follow all these numbers like 60%, 40%, right? Like it becomes really complicated.
What would you suggest?
The easiest thing to do, and you remember the foundation
What's that?
of nutrition? Quality.
Oh, quality.
Yeah. So if you think of like what I'll do for my clients, sometimes like I actually have it on my computer, but I'll draw out like a triangle. And I love triangles because triangles have foundations.
Yes.
The base.
I like that. Okay.
The base is quality. Like this foundation of nutrition. Like bottom is quality. Fix that first. I don't even want to have conversations about the other stuff until that's fixed.
Okay.
Okay. And I mean, we certainly can have those conversations, but generally, as somebody who's brand new and we're working together, let's fix that first. The second thing, kind of the middle part.
By quality, you mean nutrition, not like Johnny's Pizza versus Pizza Hut, right?
Good question. Yeah. I suppose I should define that. I got a real simple prescription for it. You probably heard me say it.
Yeah, the food or the fruit, nuts.
Meat, veggies, nuts, seeds, and fruit.
Yes.
Yeah, meat, veggies, nuts, seeds, and fruit. Like those are the categories. Pull from there. So that's quality food. Basically, it's real food. If you eat real food, it's like magic. Like unless you're diabetic, it's like magic. That's a whole other conversation. But second part is quantity.
Okay.
How much of that stuff you're eating. What I find is that if I can get somebody's quality fixed, most of the time we don't have to go to quantity.
Okay.
Which is really nice because then we don't have to worry about calories or none of that shit.
Yeah.
Just eat quality food. And then the third thing, the top of that triangle or that pyramid would be timing.
Okay.
So that's for like, you've got the other two bases done. Now let's have that conversation about time.
Is there something to that, not eating after a certain hour?
I think there can be. I think it makes more of a difference if you're not active.
Okay.
If you're sedentary, then yes, I would say you have to be wary of that. If you're active, and specifically if you're doing resistance training, I wouldn't worry about that.
Okay.
Yeah. Then part of the whole thing that happens is when you're exercising is you're kind of beating yourself up, especially doing strength training. So your body needs nourishment. And that's why for like a lot of really active people, I don't even recommend intermittent fasting. Because most really fit people won't eat enough. And I lump myself into that category. Sometimes I find that I just don't eat enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a certain number of calories that you need to eat in a day? Like
That's a great question. I don't.
Does it matter?
I think globally it matters. Again, the most important thing is quality.
Just quality.
Yeah. It's just quality. If you start there and you've got extra body fat, I can guarantee you if you stick to that long enough, that body fat's going to start to go away.
Okay.
You can kind of tweak the dials a little bit more as you move up, but just fix that. I can't tell you, dude. I can't tell you how many people have lost significant amounts of weight just by fixing the quality of their food and never worrying about a macro, a calorie, none of that stuff.
Really?
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. That's why I like
How do you sustain that? Like, how do you, because like, it is so much easier. Like I have 4 kids, right?
Yeah.
It is exponentially easier to eat shit food than it is to eat healthy. Like it is so much more work to make something healthy and and then, or to cook a pizza some night. And then I'm like, I don't want to make my own dinner. Like that's what I was doing when I was in the Mac. I was cooking for myself and then the family separate.
Yeah.
And like, how do you maintain that?
Yeah. Especially when you got 4 kids.
Yeah.
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 You're living that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that there's an easy solution because there's not.
Damn it.
Yeah. I wish there was. I mean, part of it is just simplifying what it is that you eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like for me, it's so boring. Like I'll eat eggs, I'll eat meat. Sometimes I'll steam some vegetables and I'll eat fruit. That's basically all I eat. And it's a lot of times it's the same thing. Like it's the same ground beef like I just had. You walked in, I was chowing down a plate of plain old ground beef. Like that was it. So it's just very boring, but it's fast. It's easy.
Yeah.
I don't have to, it's just simple. So there's ways to simplify it, but you have to make that commitment to yourself that nobody is going to derail you. Like you have to, if it's important to you, you got to find a way. And you've done it already because you've made that commitment to yourself and you made the food. Is it fun?
That's the worst thing about it is knowing I know how to do it.
Yeah.
And I still can't bring myself to getting back into it.
Yeah.
So, although now I got a little more free time than I did before, so I'm wanting to. I do have the desire.
Nice.
I'm just trying to find that police role,
Yeah, yeah.
looking for that
Yeah, yeah.
motivation.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say you're looking good, man. Looking sexy.
Me?
Yeah.
I believe you.
That's the direction I want you to go.
Oh, okay.
I'm focusing your attention.
Okay. Fake it till
Sexy you.
Okay.
Fake it till you make it. Start living as if right now. Live as if right now. If you're not there, pretend you are. And then you ask yourself,
Yeah.
People wore those bracelets. What would Jesus do?
Yeah.
What would my healthiest version of myself do? Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what would that person do? And that's kind of what I did. And that's how I'm actually sitting here today. I faked it in the beginning because I wasn't healthy.
Yeah.
I was like, I told you stories. I mean, it was awful. I drank so much alcohol and ate so much shit back in the day. It's mind numbing. Mind numbing. So anyways, yeah. What do you think?
That's what I was thinking. Maybe like before I eat, I'll just go take my shirt off and look in the mirror for a second. Be like, all right.
Yeah.
Don't eat that pizza.
There's two ways, like even in the coaching world, there's like two ways to kind of approach it. That's more of like a shaming approach, right?
Yeah.
Which motivates some people. Like if you shame someone bad enough, but it tends to be a little bit more.
That's kind of like don't
Food.
throw an interception.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's probably not the direction you want to go.
Okay.
And if that's what motivates a person, quite honestly, that's not really my vibe. But
Draw abs on instead.
yeah.
Someday these will be
The
real.
other thing would be aspirational, right? Yeah. Be aspirational. You want to chase something. You want to become something, right? You're growing, and that's what we should be chasing, I believe.
What about sleep? Is that a big deal? I don't like to sleep much.
It's huge.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
How much sleep do you need to get after 40?
Between 7 and 9 is what the research says. Yeah.
Anything for people that like to sleep 4 to 6?
You got to sleep more.
Yeah. Damn it.
Have you ever, when was the last time you had like a good night's sleep?
Oh gosh, probably when I was in really good shape.
There you go.
I was sleeping a lot more back then.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, do you remember how much better you felt?
Oh God, yeah. It was a lot. Way better.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But now it's like a stupid hip wakes me up every night.
Yeah.
It's like constant. So, but I don't know. I started doing yoga. I've done it like twice. I can't say I've started, but and that did seem to help. So I need to stretch more, I guess. I'm assuming stretching is really a good
You gotta get stronger.
Yeah.
Squat.
squat.
Start squat.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, just air squats. Just start moving it. And if it becomes more problematic, that's probably when you want to maybe have some imaging done. But I wouldn't go there. I think it's probably most of the time it's soft tissue stuff, especially if it just shows up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
There's a muscle lockdown somewhere. It's something usually silly, and usually you can, if you just build your strength and work on that nervous system stuff, and you get things to pattern the right way again, so you have good mechanics.
Okay.
That stuff tends to disappear pretty quickly.
Yeah.
most
Yeah, I think my arm, it was like a ligament or something, but it's fine now. It's like all better. And then I had like something with my foot that came right after. And it was like,
I remember that.
it felt, I don't know if I stepped on something hard or what, but it was right on the arch. And man, it was pain for months it felt like, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
so, but I guess can't use it as an excuse to stop doing everything.
And I think the other thing is to look at this from a long game perspective, right? Because I've been doing this for so long that I kind of see it. Never expect it to be just all wins. There's going to be a few downs.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about a down is there's an up on the other side, right? Like it hasn't been all roses for me. I've hurt my back a few times. I've hurt my back really bad a few times, usually doing dumb shit, but I always come back,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I almost kind of see it a little bit as like, if something happens where I get a little bit derailed, I'm always like, oh, here we are again. Let's go. Let's keep going.
Just push yourself that way.
Yeah. And you just keep showing up, and you just keep doing the thing, and eventually it gets better, and it's pretty amazing. But now it's a pattern that I can recognize, and because I recognize it, I know how it plays out. So I just play out,
Oh, nice.
and it plays out in my favor. So
Do you have any advice for like if you get depressed or anything like that, and then you just don't feel like being active, or you don't want to go look in the mirror and pump yourself up? Anything you try there? Like any ideas?
it's showing up.
Just going out and being
doing
there.
the work.
Okay.
Yeah. I've got a really, really good friend who struggles with depression. And if he doesn't work out, it can become really bad. If he does work out, it's almost non-existent. So the experiences that I've had, and he's just one example, there's other examples that I have, but it works. But you have to you got to get in the gym.
Yeah.
You just got to do it.
That's my habit too, because I like to work out at home.
Yeah.
But then it's like, I don't go in there. Part of me, I think maybe it would be better just to go somewhere, force myself to leave the house.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the social, if you can, I think the social environment is great too. In some gyms, not all gyms. Yeah. Or if you got a workout buddy, like that's great. Just to be able to shoot the shit with.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes it so much better. Yeah. Well, cool. I think we covered enough for today.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool.
I'm ready to go eat some pizza. I mean,
we're going to go do some squats.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right. So I hope you enjoyed this. And if you have any questions or anything, go ahead and
ask him, not me.
Comment below. I'll make sure Wes gets back to you and answers all those questions for you. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next podcast.